Hi guys, it's Rylan, the original dream farmer. I am coming to you guys today to talk about my book, which is on Amazon, The Backlog. All right. Idea tracking guided journal for the entrepreneurial spirit. You see that? So I wanted to take um, not too much of your time. I'm going to try and keep it very minimal today and talk about this book because I never really gave an explanation, although it kind of speaks for itself. But there's a bigger purpose behind this book. And I just kind of wanted to go over uh, the sample pages that I have inside of the book, where I've given an example of some of the things that you can write in the different sections. Now, before I share my screen with you guys, just so you guys know, a backlog is actually an agile project management term. Um, a few years ago, I was certified as an agile project manager in software development, and I didn't really use it because I wasn't in it, but I needed to do it as a trainer. So it was one of the benefits of working at the organization that I was working at that gave me the free training. So I took the free training and I was training a lot of the engineers and the business analysts and the project managers who were utilizing their project management, that type of project management style, if you will. And so just working in that organization kind of ingrained it in my head, the different processes that are being used when they are taking an idea of some software or in different features and how they are developing it. So that's why I wanted to call the backlog, because the backlog stands for a log where which you are placing all the different ideas that you have that you want to work on in the project on inside of that backlog. It's a list of things that need to get done, of tasks that need to get done, right? So when I named this book, I wanted to reflect the a sense of creating a database for not just for myself, but for entrepreneurs. Because when we are trying to get our money going and when we're trying to start our business, when we're trying to get our ideas off of the ground, we're not thinking about later on how the data and the information that you are utilizing and collecting, how it's going to be used in the future. We're not thinking about how to retrieve that information later on. And so for me, I used to also teach database classes. And it just makes more sense that if you're going to be in business, you have to understand that you are going to have to organize, collect, organize, and analyze all the different pieces of information that's coming at you. And one thing that nobody really thinks to even record in a database is an idea. Except, maybe in cases where it's an actual task, like how the backlog is actually being used in project management. But I wanted to take it a step further for us entrepreneurs. How can we start creating a database of the different ideas that we are creating and that we are implementing, and even things that we're not implementing? I've seen people implement ideas that they've had from years ago, and how they retrieve that information or how they even remember it, or if they had it written down, I have no idea. But this gives us the opportunity to create a legacy of ideas that were going through our minds, that could potentially help our next generation within our families. I think of it as, imagining my son, Khalil, being able to have this when he is older. And knowing that as he is going through his journey of finding himself and figuring out what his life purpose in life work is, he can go through my ideas and see how I was thinking back then in at a certain time frame with certain economical resources. And so that's the type of legacy that I want to leave my son is I want him to know the kind of thought processes that I was having, and to see the kind of ideas that I was creating, and to know where he comes from my bloodline. And to also see that if there are some ideas in here that I've never acted upon, and he was interested in it, then he could, take that idea and run with it and revamp it. So that's the reason why this book was actually originally created. But I want to go through each of the different sections just to kind of give you a snippet of why I created that section and why it's important for you to write the information down in there, because after a while this stuff it's going to come second nature, right? You're asking these questions constantly. These are questions that I am constantly asking myself when I do have an idea, so if I can't answer those questions, then most of the time I'm just going to sit on the idea until I can't answer those questions. But if you can answer all of these different questions, and note which ones are not applicable to you, and it really utilize the different sections within this book, you literally can make something happen, because now it's out of your head. Now you have some things in motion. You have some things written down. It's not just, oh, I'm just writing stuff down. It's actually structured. It's to pull that idea out of you and to see it as something that could potentially do well for you. So let's go ahead and get into it. I've been saying a lot of ums tonight. It's been a long night. So, I'm going to share my screen, and so you can actually see what the insert looks like. So it's 2 different pages. All right, guys. So what you see on my screen right now is actually, there's 2 pages of information that you need to fill out for each idea that you have. So when you open up the book, you're going to see how this journal works, so you can read over that. And then you're going to see the sample pages. This is where I'm at right here. Sample 1, sample 2. Okay. And then you'll see the next page after that. This is where you start with your first idea. Boom, boom. That's your first one. And then so on and so forth. Second one. Boom, boom. So I am on the first page of the sample. And so I'm on the first page of the sample. This is what it looks like. You are basically going to have, so this is, just so you know, it's filled out. Okay, this is why it's a sample. And so you're going to notice at the very top it has category on the left hand side, and on the far right hand side you're going to see that it says date. The reason why I have categories is because sometimes we subconsciously categorize our ideas. Maybe we don't recognize, or we're not realizing that that's what we're doing. But our ideas live under different categories. They live under different themes. And so when you start thinking about your ideas, and then you start, looking at this, you're like, category, this is going to force you to figure out how to categorize your ideas. It's not something that you need to put down right at this moment. But it is there so that when you are going back and refilling the information, or you need to change information, you can go back and add a category. So in this particular example, the category is going to be application. And the idea, which is this very top section right here, we're going to see it says ID on the left-hand side. It says create application that will allow teachers to sell their worksheets. So this sample actually is a real example of an idea that I had thought of. And it may be something that I might do later on. But there are, this idea has been implemented by, this is already out there. So this is not a new idea. However, if I wanted to take on this idea, I could have my own spin to it. So this is kind of the birth of an idea, right? You might be having a conversation with somebody. You might be sitting there chillaxing, or you might be out and about and something pops up in your head. You're like, oh, wait, something could trigger an idea. And this is usually how it starts. Well, what if I just create an application that will allow teachers to sell their worksheets, right? Maybe I'm a parent and I am having issues trying to give this boy some homework. Maybe he loves it. He's devouring the worksheets that his school is giving him, and he might need some extra stuff, or maybe I want him to have some supplemental work. So this is a decent idea. Now, right underneath that, you're going to see it says, what problem does this idea solve? Right? So this is making you dig a little bit deeper into why is this idea important? Well, what's so important about it? What's so special about it? So the sample says many teachers are underfunded, which is true, and need to supplement their income. They may want to supplement their income. I honestly believe that they need to supplement their income, but some teachers are getting paid, well, surprisingly, and then a lot of teachers just are not getting paid. So it just really all depends. Parents are having trouble providing supplemental homework. That was something that I mentioned before. These are all valid problems, right? And these are things that I can actually dig a little bit deeper. So many teachers are underfunded and need to supplement their income. So I can look into, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but one of the things that can help me dig a little bit deeper into figuring out what the problem is getting some numbers, some statistics to the teachers that are being underfunded, getting an idea of how these teachers are actually supplementing their income. But we're going to talk about that in a minute. The next section, if you scroll down, you're going to see this little finger pointing to the right. It says, who has the problem? All right, so now we are picking out who the target is. Bang, 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 bang. We kind of already know who the target is, but there actually is more people involved in that as far as who actually has this problem and who can benefit from the idea that this problem can solve. The idea, yeah. So who has the problem? The teachers, yes. They have the problem. They're the ones that want to supplement their income. The parents, yeah, they have a problem because they need some work for their children to do. Tutors and other educational leads, yes, they can benefit from this idea because it is a part of their problem too. Having access to different types of worksheets from different teachers can really help a student learn differently in a lot of dynamic ways. On to the right side of this section, why are they having this problem? This is actually getting down to solidifying your target market. Why are they having the problem? What is the root of this problem, right? We know that more schools are being defunded and other things are being funded. And that's not, I'm not going to talk about that right now, because that's not this video. That's a whole nother video. But schools are being defunded and it really sucks. So, that's one reason why that they're having the problem. It could be a global pandemic. Currently right now, today is June 30th, 2020. And we are in the midst of almost the second wave, I like to think, but I think it needs to go a little bit crazier for it to be a second wave. But I'm going to say this is the second wave of the coronavirus, COVID-19. So we are in a global pandemic right now. And that changes things. How are these teachers surviving? A lot of these teachers can't have, a full successful class, just being on the internet. And sometimes that can be really challenging. Maybe that's a learning curve for them, because there's a lot of teachers who may not be tech savvy like that. And a lot of these schools are becoming extremely tech savvy. And so that can be really important. Lack of resources. You know, a lot of these teachers are taking money out of their pocket and they are funding their classes. And so that takes away from, you know, their own money that they can take home. So the section right below, you have 3 different spots right here. And the question or the statement is 3 ways I can implement this idea, right? This is, I like this section right here because this is just practice, right? So you have to think that this is really just the birth of an idea. This is not for you to build upon specifically in this section. When you are ready to develop out an idea, you need to take it out of this, and you need to put it in a notebook or a whiteboard or something like that and really build it out. This right here is just a way for you to record the birth, right? You want to record the birth of this idea. And if you can't think of a couple of things, even if it's just one way that you can implement this idea, then it kind of needs to sit on the table for a little bit. You should be able to come up with at least a few ways that you can implement this idea, right? And it can be looked at in many different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be like the example that I have on here. So 3 ways that I can implement this idea. Well, I can hire somebody to build this app if I have the money to. But that comes with, you know, strings attached, hiring somebody to build the app. And this is another conversation in another video. As an entrepreneur, I wholeheartedly believe that you need to know enough to know that you are hiring the right person and that they're doing their job. And it kind of sucks that you have to do that. And this is not to say that you need to micromanage people. This is to say that you don't get done over by people, because people take advantage. I've seen people work in organizations, and because they get fired or because they are at the end of their contract, they sabotage some of the coding or something like that, or their work. So that way they are called back to be able to fix that problem. And so, you know, you don't want to deal with those kind of, you know, characters where they have to rig something just to be a part of it, right? Or they have to get over on you. And I've seen it done several times over to a lot of different people. And that's another conversation too, is because I used to be a part of a Ponzi scheme. Not willingly, I didn't know, but that's a whole nother story. So it's important, you know, that if I'm going to hire someone to build the app, I need to know what language. I don't need to know the language, but I would want to have an idea of what language needs to be used for this app. Or if there's a specific tool that they can use without having to need code. And the reason why I'm saying, you know, some of this, some people are be like, I'm not going to sit here and learn because this is what their job is for, right? This is what they're supposed to do. But I'm telling you right now, you have to protect yourself. And the best way to protect yourself is with your learning. You know, if you are just curious about even just a little bit about what that process looks like, at least you'll have an idea that they're on the right track and that they're not just talking about no BS, right? They're not just going to do you over because at least you have access to somebody or something, or you have the intelligence to be able to go and look it up and figure out, you know what, this person is actually doing me dirty. So, so like I said, that's another conversation when it comes to learning, but I just wanted to put that out there, that if you're filling any of these little sections out, remember all of this stuff goes deeper. All right, it goes deeper. The second one, learn to build the app yourself. And I did spell that. I did spell that wrong. Oops. But this is just a sample. It's to kind of give you an idea of what somebody else would write, or even for myself. Sometimes I write fast, so I could easily misspell something. So learn to build the app myself. So what does that entail, right? I have to think about what that means to me. That means that I need to learn something. And if I'm up for it, then yeah, you know, I'm up for it. If I don't have the money and I know that I can learn how to build this app on my own for really, really, really cheap, then I'm going to try and do it. but do I have the time to do it, right? So those are things that I need to think about. But this is just putting it down on paper so you can get it out of your head. And then later on, when you're really ready to really think about it and dive deep, then these are the things that you want to know. The third one is use a website such as teachable.com to build out the idea and give access to teachers to upload their materials and sell it for them. Whew, that's a little bit more complex, but it is an idea and it is a way for you to implement it. These are all different. These are all great ideas in great ways. The last one is much more like a business model of how to go about it, but still, nevertheless, it is a way to implement the idea. So now that you have at least 3 different things that you can use, um, 3 different ways that you can go about implementing the idea. Now you can start digging a little bit deeper into some research topics, right? So this is a good place to note. Let me just make sure. This is not on the second page. Nope. So this is just a small little spot. Like I said, I kept the spaces not so big because remember, you are just recording. When you want to dive deeper, you need to use a separate notebook that's dedicated to this specific idea, or however you see fit to hold all of your notes and things like that. This is just to record the birth of your ideas. So research topics, what things do I need to start looking at? Because there's so many things that are running through my head already, right? I've already put down the idea. We talked about what problem does this idea solve? Who has a problem and why? So there's already a lot of diving deep over here that I can do, right? So I can do some more research on why they're having this issue, what the root issue is. I can do more research. So this is another topic, is trying to figure out ways to implement it. Maybe a research topic can be types of apps that I can use without code, because I don't code. I don't do any computer language, but I could drag and drop. So, that's something that I would put on my research topic. Maybe go research Teachable or Teachable alternatives. I love using that type of language when I'm searching stuff. So if I know that this product works, then I'm going to see if there's an alternative to it, so I can look at all the other different tools that are being used for this specific reason. So that's something that I would do with this. So that's a research topic, is look up alternatives to teachable.com. Some other things, look up different websites to use. That goes back to this one, number 3, check for pricing for someone to build the app. That can be very expensive. So that's why number 2 comes into play. Find someone to consult with to assess how development options. I think I'm missing a word there, but that's okay. This is a really good one. Whenever you are developing an app, you always want to have somebody that you can consult with who is in the field of whatever that idea is. It doesn't matter what that idea is. It can be an idea to do something, that you've never done before. And it doesn't necessarily have monetary gain, but at least you have somebody that you can ask questions. Like, maybe I have an idea to go ziplining in 5 different countries next year. That is an idea, because you are gaining happiness from that, right? You're gaining what comes with that adventure. You're gaining memories, and that's, you can easily put that on here because it is a legit idea. And it doesn't necessarily, it could have a problem. Maybe you just feel like you're stuck in the house and that you don't travel enough, and that, you're not adventurous enough, so you can change the narrative of the types of ideas that you have and place it on here. And if it's not applicable, you can just put NA or just leave it blank. I'd say put NA, so that way Here's another idea or another research topic. Find a way to survey teachers to see if this would help them. So this is really good to kind of see and test out the target market to see if this is actually something that would work for them. So here's the second page to the other side. So remember, there's 2 pages to this. And at the very top left-hand side, you have participants, and then you have roles on the right-hand side. Participants have to do with Maybe you want to hire somebody to develop the app for you. That's going to be a participant, right? I don't want to say a partner because um, they're not partners yet, right? These are potential partners, absolutely. But these are the people that will potentially participate in the development of your idea somehow, some way. So Ebony Foster is a potential app developer, and that would be her role, right? So that makes it clear on who this person is and what they're doing to participate in this idea. Miss Delaney. Miss Delaney is the teacher consultant. That's somebody that I can go to who sparked the fire in me about this idea, right? This is a part of the scenario. And, I want to make sure that I can consult with Miss Delaney. So that's participants and roles. If your idea does not have anything to do with anybody else, if it doesn't involve anybody else to be within the development phase of that idea, then you just leave it blank or you put NA. The next part is the initial steps to get started. Now that you have enough ideas about your idea, you have enough information. Now you can at least write down the next steps, right? What do you want to do moving forward? Now that you have this down, what do you want to do moving forward, right? And honestly, you can put sit on it. You can say, I want to sit on it. I want to sit on this idea for a little bit. I want to table it. You can literally leave it blank until you are ready to write down a process. I can't even tell you how many times I have written down an idea somewhere and it just sat there and sat there and sat there. And then when market conditions for that idea became available, then I was like, you know what? I need to go find that idea. And, I need to figure out what I need to do to take it to the next level, which was my initial steps to get started. And so it just sat and sat and sat for years until I was ready to get started. So this section doesn't necessarily need to have anything until you are fully ready to take those steps to get started. Don't just put anything in there. For this one, consult with a teacher consultant and the app developer to validate the idea a little bit more. Remember, this is all the beginning portions of idea validation. You're going to have to dig a lot deeper to really assess to see if you are nitpicky like that. You really need to dig a little bit deeper to see if this idea is actually going to be worth your time implementing. Storyboard using PowerPoint or pen and paper. This is a great way for me to get started. Because it allows me to use my creative side to organize it and to visualize it in a way that makes sense to me, to put it in a process. Create a survey to get the teacher's feedback. So I would go to Google Forms or something like that, create a survey, and then find some teachers to give it to, go to a local school or a school that I've worked at before, or touch on some school districts. The fourth one is write out the features needed of the app. So that kind of goes back to the storyboarding, but that's an additional step that's put it on there as well. So we have two more sections. Here's the notes. So the notes are just, quick notes that you can write down. I like this section because, in the beginning of the birthing phase, right? So you birth this idea, and when I say birth it, you've actually taken it out of your head and you have put it on paper, whether it's this paper or another piece of paper. What I like about this is that you can still add notes as you are going about birthing this idea on paper. Because once you are fully done adding all the information on here, the birthing phase is over. You're now at a point to where you have to get that baby ready to crawl, get that baby ready to walk, get that baby ready to run around, and do more intricate things, make you money. For most ideas, let me say that. So I like the fact that there's notes in here, because every time that you return to this idea, you can add more notes, right? You can keep adding notes, and not just any notes. I like to think of this as legacy notes. Uh, Even though the example in here is just kind of like stuff that I just threw on here, I like to put more concrete notes like, would this idea go under this specific category? Or, how to develop, some thoughts about how I can develop this idea to be with another idea that I had before, something like that. So something that you want to, keep on here as a legacy, this is a good place for you to take notes for. So the last part of this is whether you actually implement it or not, and this is what I love about this book is because, let me bust it out again. What I like about this book is because you can always go back to your idea and you can always put down the date that you launched it, whether it's been successful or not. You can put some notes in there that kind of give an idea of, what the rate of return was. You can put whatever right there. But this is all a part of your legacy, right? How are you to know, or how is your bloodline to know that this idea was successful? And this is not to say that, oh, I'm just going to put whatever. No, this is your life. You don't want to lie on this. This is you. This is all you. So you lying to yourself is kind of ridiculous. So you want to be honest. And, if you didn't act on it, that's totally fine. You don't have to sit here and act like you did. But this is a really good gauge for you to see where you are at with your ideas. That's why I like this little section right here, because it's a gauger. It gives you an idea. It lets you look back and see, oh yeah, I did implement this idea. Because sometimes your mind would play tricks on you thinking that you have this idea and you think it's new, but it's really not. You thought about this idea 10 years ago and didn't even realize it. So yeah. So these are the two different sheets that are within the backlog. You can actually go and get the backlog on Amazon. It is available on Amazon for less than $15. I think it is $14.99. Like I said, you are leaving a legacy. You are creating a database of your ideas. One of my next things that I'm going to do on YouTube, maybe not the next one, but coming up soon, is I'm going to actually show you how to take an idea or take your ideas and put it in an actual digital database. What does that look like, right? Because if you don't use Excel or Access or any type of other database, you may not understand why this is set up the way that it's set up. So because this is a part of a bigger picture. But we'll do that in the next video. So go to Amazon. I'm going to put the link inside of the description. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications for my videos. The next video is going to be out tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet. I do have another book on Amazon that I might touch on. And I'm actually creating a course around that other book. So maybe I'll talk about the other book. So don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, that big old red button. I know you see it. I will catch you guys next time. And don't hesitate to put any comments or questions down below. Ciao.